powerful new moon. New moon starts a new cycle, and this is another reset, and a big one. Are you feeling the pressure? I know I certainly am. And it's an internal pressure that we're feeling. That's because deep changes are taking place below the surface, but we want to see them taking place in front of our eyes. Yes, there's a little volatile energy, but really the pressure is to go within. This is a very important new moon, and there's a Mercury Retrograde and a couple of other really important transits I want you to be aware of so that you can navigate and make the best use of this energy. Hi, I'm Prema Gurreri, Vedic Astrologer, Consciousness Coach, and welcome to Chart Your Path. I'd appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button so we can get the message out to more people so they can move with the flow of energy and not against it. Hit that bell notification. It's up to you. The choice is yours, but I appreciate it. This new moon is on February 11th, around 11 a.m. Pacific time. We have the energy of the new moon, though. The day before, the day of, the day after. It is dark, and this is a new cycle. A new moon starts a new cycle for the next 30 days, like the next flavor of energy. Lots going on below the surface. We have this big planetary pileup happening in Capricorn. And Capricorn, of course, is that sign of structure and grounding and power and the organization of power. Organizations and governments, they all organize power, but it's also a place of hard work and focus. And this is why I said earlier this year, you're going to want to be committed this month to something so you have something to pour your focus into, because you're going to be called to work hard and to focus on something. It also can be a place where we feel restriction. It's like a little bit too tight, sometimes a little bit too structured, and and sometimes where our fear can come up. Fear comes up all the time, but where fear can come up. So what are you committed to? What are you focusing on? And what you're focusing on may or may not feel like it's moving forward at this time. I know for me, it's felt like one step forward, a couple steps back, 2, 3 steps forward, back, and kind of, doing the cha-cha here, going back and forth. This is normal. It is not a straight line energy because so much is happening under the surface. So many different planets, so many different areas of life, enmeshed ways of being, and in this place of, again, internal pressure, and the sun has been there combusting all of these planets during this time. Now, the good news is this restructuring needs to happen. It's not a bad thing. It's really about truth or consequences. That's what Capricorn is about. That's what Saturn's about. It takes what you believe to be true and it puts it under pressure. And it either becomes a finely faceted gem or it crushes it to dust. And you know it's not true anymore. You know when that's happened, where you believe something so hard and then, wow, you saw that. That was not the truth right in front of your eyes. And that those beliefs get crushed to dust. That's good information to have. That allows you to have reshape what you believe in. It really puts our beliefs under pressure in this placement. Now, this is where the new moon is. And it's interesting because the new moon's right at the end of Capricorn. And so it's only going to be there, for a moment with all these planets here. And then the moon will move on the 12th, so will the sun. Will move out of this position on the 12th, and we'll start to feel, we're still going to feel some pressure, but it's going to start to make sense what's really been going on under the surface. So Capricorn really wants us to thrive in the world, wants us to be grounded here, knowing we are not of the world, but we have to live in the world. And it wants us to remember our divinity, but create the kinds of structures that allow us to be here. This is one of the places that, there's so many placements for this, but where you're, the structuring of your gifts and, how you are embodying them and presenting them. Now, you may or may not be aware of what your divine gifts are, what I like to call your highest value gifts. When you use those, they unlock something in the world that only you can unlock. And with this pressure, you are likely feeling, especially if you are a visionary, you are likely feeling that pressure to, there is something I'm here to do. It may be putting that pressure on what you're already doing, and you kind of like, oh God, I'm behind the game on this. I really need to do it. Or it might be bringing something new up to the surface. Wow, I want to help there. I want to change this. in the world right now, because so much is changing, or it might be bringing you in that place of what you were committed to is not really, you don't really see the value in that anymore, and you're really wanting to get in touch with what your true gifts are and where you and how you can best serve this amazing paradigm shift that we're in. This, your Sacred Wealth Code is an amazing way to connect with what your gifts are. And I have lots of different ways you can connect. You can get the Sacred Wealth Code Oracle deck. You can get my book, and there's a link to the first chapter for free. You can take the quiz. There's also a link below for that, which will help you to see one of your Sacred Wealth Code archetypes and your gifts. Using your gifts, this is an internal process, and the more you're connected with the truth of who you are, and your divine gifts are a pathway to that, really are, I should say it differently, are an expression of that. They help you to remember who you are in the world and who you are not. This is very important. Capricorn and this new moon and all these planets here are bringing our awareness there. You're also likely feeling like pressure of time, because Saturn helps us become aware of time. Saturn rules Capricorn in Vedic astrology. This is where the new moon is happening. It's in the sidereal zodiac in Vedic astrology, and it's in the lunar mansion, the nakshatra of Dhanisha. Now, this is a nakshatra, a placement, an energy that calls us to get in sync, get in alignment with the natural rhythms. So that's nature, our own natural rhythm, and really be attuned to divine timing, which takes a deeper listening. And you know when you're out of divine timing. You know when if you're just out of sync with things. If that's the case, take some time in nature. Really tune into what nourishes you, what feeds your soul, and make a new commitment on this new moon to dedicate time and energy to that, so that you can get in that natural divine rhythm. You'll have the energy behind you with that. The symbolism is Lord Shiva's drum, and it's called the drum of creation. And also destruction. Destruction is part of creation. And, Shiva represents that meditation and that stillness, being able to balance the outer world because of that stillness within, being very tuned in. And that drum, it's the vibration of Om, the song of, creation as a vibration. This also is a placement. So I encourage you, it's also a placement of music and mantra, which are soul languages. And so I encourage you, of course, deeper meditation, stillness. You'll be able to hit in this new moon a real place of stillness, and music and mantra, and even dance. And then we have Saraswati yoga going on, which is music and dance and those things as well. So that a lot of times can bring us to this place of to this stillness. So enjoy music, bring music in, move. If you're into mantra, do your mantras or your affirmations on this new moon, really calling in this new cycle. This energy calls you to your depths, really, of just your spiritual nature, and to really be able to touch that place within. That inner place is where you find your peace, where you find your freedom. And this is also the star of wealth, and the true wealth is found inside. You could lose anything in the outer world, including a great sum of money. But if you know yourself, and if you know your spiritual nature, and you know the sense of peace and where to find it, and true freedom and where to find it, that is true wealth, and no one can take that away from you. So you managing your mind, you having control over or command of your mind is a huge amount of wealth, because there's so much you can create in that way. Very, very powerful new moon. And it, like I said, it sets us off in this new cycle very much from the inside out. Your intuition is going to be very heightened. And as I like to call it, soul wisdom will be dropping in. So give yourself that quiet time. Give yourself that time, or maybe it's dance or movement. I get a lot of downloads when I'm walking in nature, when I'm dancing, when I'm doing yoga. You're going to have downloads. So have your journal ready, and don't just be distracted when you're doing these things. Maybe don't be listening to something, or music is great, but we take in so much information. Let your mind get quiet so you can own it and somebody else's information isn't owning your mind. Give yourself this time on the new moon to do that. You want to find that still place. Also, another one, the group of deities is the 8 Vastus of energy and light, and they call us to our highest virtues. And that's why I wanted to bring up your gifts here and being very aware of what your highest value gifts are. These are a way that we actually live our virtues out in life. So I want to invite you to just really take yourself on a date on this new moon and to bring yourself into that music and that dance and deep meditation and nature and open up to what's really next for you. A lot has been working itself out underneath the surface, and that's why maybe you haven't had so much productivity. And we've got the aspect of Mars. We have Mars in Aries, which is kind of driving us. It's really the only planet that's not in this configuration. This hasn't happened since 1962, this particular configuration in Capricorn, and the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is still happening there, which happened in 1961. Big part of the paradigm shift here. So it's like all the planets have come here, and there's an internal restructuring going on. All of these are different energies that are within and affect you depending on what your chart is. And if you let this infrastructure rewire, and I talk about this more also in my last video at the beginning of the month where I talked about the full moon as well, so you can also grab that link down below. Allow this restructuring and this rewiring, just trust it, okay? And then as we come into the 12th, you're going to start to release some of the pressure. You'll be able to tap in a little bit more to the energy of the Saraswati Yoga, and I talk about that in my video at the beginning of the month too as well. That's the goddess of arts and the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. And so allow yourself to dig into learning something new, to taking the creative form, the idea, and creating some structure around it, your creative projects, or just think of it as an idea and bring it down to earth. That's what wants to happen with this whole Capricorn energy. So as of the 12th or so, you're going to feel a little more freed up in doing that. Now, Mercury is still retrograde, so communication is definitely a little jammed up and a little bit wonky here, although it's not a bad retrograde. We also have it as part of the Saraswati Yoga. That's the 3 planets of light, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury. That's the communicator. That's the great visionary teacher, and also the great artist and connector are all, whenever they're together, that's a beautiful, that's a lot of light in one place. So we're now shedding the light on the structure. The Mercury retrograde will be in place until the until the 20th. That is also the 21st is when Mars is going to shift over into Taurus. So towards the end of the month, we're going to start to feel like there's a loosening up of this pressure, but shift your focus after this new moon to, again, reconnect with whatever creative idea, or just, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to think it's creative, but idea. How are you going to create a form, a structure around that to bring it into grounded, practical reality? That's what Saturn wants you to do. That's what Capricorn wants you to do. And I want to invite you to, or any project you've been working on is likely to move better. Don't push on any project if it's not going. I was doing that. I was pushing on something and boy, it was not budging. Step back, just kind of got into the flow with other things, and finally things started to let loose and things started to move forward. So be gracious and compassionate with yourself. This new moon actually brings in a deep level of compassion for one another. So and also, I want to say something else about this. There's a courage, a deep feminine courage in this with this new moon, and it is not sort of that outside, got to do it kind of courage, but sort of the courage to speak the truth, the courage to even tell yourself the truth and face the truth, and the courage to really come together. This is about all of us, and how can we serve and come together and make a greater impact that serves our own personal purpose as a need to be expressed, but also serves this collective that is shifting and changing right now out of a denser vibration into a higher one, but it's a super mixed bag. So the more you can raise your frequency, the more that you can also resonate those you are here to be in community with and those you are here to help with. So if you by any chance are a visionary woman and you are ready to get in touch with your gifts, you are ready to take your gifts that maybe you already know out into the world and really trust your intuition and trust yourself to make that bigger impact. Be willing to go in deep and do some of the things that I'm talking about to align with that. And then leave me a message. I've got a great opportunity for you, and it's not for everybody, but leave me a message here in the comments and let me know. I'm ready to be making an impact. I'm ready to know my gifts, and I'll reach out to you and share with you a special opportunity. If you're wanting to know what your archetypes are, one of your archetypes is, you can grab the quiz. And if you want a reading and know how all this is affecting you, grab a Soul Success Map reading. The link is down below, or a Sacred Wealth Code reading. So much love to all of you. Great here to be here and serve you. Share this, like this. I appreciate your supporting me in subscribing and hitting the bell notification. But thank you so much.